The eugenic ideas of the inheritable nature of various undesirable physical and mental characteristics found their ways to Finland in the late 1800s. The actual breakthrough of eugenics has often been located to 1912, the year when the first international conference on eugenics took place in London. And that conference brought out the aims and practical implementations of eugenics, which were reported largely even in Finnish newspapers. Especially enthusiastic advocates of eugenics in Finland were many influential medical doctors and professionals who were in charge of the institutional care of people with disabilities. Also, the Swedish-speaking upper class was especially keen to embrace and implement eugenic principles. And, for instance, Finnish language was seen as one indication of how do you say, racially kind of a... Degenerate trait? Yeah, degenerate trait, yeah, that's the proper way to put it. And the Finnish Civil War in 1918 and the following financial crisis strengthened the general disgust against groups considered as morally dubious and financially consuming. And unsurprisingly, the defeated part of the Civil War, which consisted mainly of working class and socialists, was seen especially dangerous regarding Finland's prosperity. These people were often referred as intellectually feeble and pathologically fanatic in their hatred towards the bourgeois. How do you say bourgeois? Is it? Yeah. Especially individuals with a poor intellectual competence were seen to be prone to live uncontrollably according to their instincts, and mainly sexual instincts. They suffered from moral insanity, inborn incapability to know right from wrong. So something needed to be done, and that something occurred in several ways. At first, people with unfavorable hereditary characteristics were isolated in institutions, but that really didn't work, because institutions and segregated environment provided these inhabitants with supposed endless sexual urges just a sheltered environment for breeding. Another way was to prevent certain people from getting married, or grant them a marriage permit only if they were sterilized. And according to the 1929 Marriage Act, kinship, insanity, and idiocy constituted unquestionable impediments to the marriage, whereas marriages of individuals with epilepsy, sexually transmitted diseases, or a marriage between two congenitally deaf persons was conditional on President's special license. And corresponding regulations had been enacted, for example, in Norway and Denmark. But it was soon noticed that marriage acts were really ineffective, because people tend to have sex even though they're not married. So the next step was sterilization, which offered a cheaper, more effective, and so it was said, more humane way than institutionalization to prevent people with unwanted characteristics from having children. Sterilization was seen to be the only effective way to prevent the morally insane people from breeding, and because this was thought to be due to their uncontrollable sexuality. And the report of a sterilization law commission in 1929 eliminated this supposed brute fact with various cautionary example true-to-life cases. And these are my translations. So there were quite a few of these cases that were reported. So first of all, SR, feeble-minded 27-year-old butcher's daughter, even-tempered, could be looked after at home, unleashed, unless she was not extremely prone to practice sexual intercourse, therefore has lately been looked after in the county mental hospital, gave birth to an illegitimate child while being at home. Now the word unleashed or without special monitoring, it was a bit difficult to translate because it's usually, the word that is used there is used only in relation to animals, like if wild animals are being in the wild or without unleashed. So I think actually the unleashed is a proper term. And another one, HR, feeble-minded 37-year-old workman's widow, fit for work and even-tempered, could support herself but is very lustful, constantly looking for male company when not institutionalized, has given birth to 2 illegitimate children. And this constantly looking for male company, the tone of the text is like that these people are like madly looking for sex all the time. Surprisingly, the commission constituted only of 10 men. So now the idea of uncontrollable and wild sexuality did not refer primarily to the quantity of sex between eugenically dangerous people. It referred mostly to its quality. This meaning that the sexual activities of women with mental impairments were regarded dangerous because sex in their cases resulted with great probability in a birth of a child with similar characteristics, similar unwanted characteristics. And another factor explaining the undesirability of certain people's sexuality had to do with the dominant moral and legal norms of the time. According to Christian morality, extramarital sexual affairs were condemnable, and also the criminal code at the time defined extramarital sexual affairs as crimes. So on eugenic, moral and on criminal grounds, certain people's sexuality was largely considered as undesirable.